Matt. Mike Boland, tell everyone who you are and why you're here.
So I'm a Kelsey analyst, BI Kelsey analyst, and I spend most of my time looking at everything happening in the mobile world, which is multifaceted and it's going in 100 different directions and very fast, as you all probably imagine. So what we're looking at here is, this is some fresh BI Kelsey forecast data. It's going to be out next week, but you get kind of a sneak peek here. And this really supports a lot of the things you were saying, Matt, in how usage is really the leading indicator. We're seeing search traffic, we're seeing time spent really being siphoned away from desktop and other places. And really this is kind of the advertiser spend that supports that or actually follows behind that. And what we see right now is that the mobile ad revenue opportunity in the US, in 2012, it was about $3.25 billion. It's going up to about almost $17 billion by 2017. But the interesting thing here is that, that's a compound annual growth rate of around 39%. But if you look at the segment within that spend that's devoted to location-targeted campaigns, and when I say location targeting, there's a lot behind that, which we can go into that definition in a minute, but that's actually growing at a faster rate, closer to about a 50% CAGR. And it's about 38% of campaigns, or the dollars going towards mobile advertising, were location targeted in 2012. And that's growing to about 54% in 2017. And it's also important to note, before I kick it back to you, Matt, that this really includes national advertisers and SMBs. Often when we say local, it's synonymous with SMB, but it's very important to note that this really means localized. So the common element is the campaign itself, not the size of the advertiser. And they're localizing in lots of different ways, both geo-targeted placement, calls to action, like phone calls, like Matt mentioned, the ad creative, all these ways that are really evolving in the art of location targeting. But most of it right now is actually the national players. Just like we saw on the desktop and in other kind of digital media, it starts with the national guys and then over time moves down market. We're in that early stages of that where it's mostly national at this point.
So let me ask you just a quick follow-up question to this.
Sure.
Actually, I have two follow-up questions. The first one is...
Just one.
I have to ask two questions, because if I don't like the first question, I can always just pretend it wasn't a good question. Okay, so when we looked at this a long time ago, when the search market first started to come to fruition, we talked a lot about the percentage of small business advertisers versus large advertisers in search. When it first started out, it was basically 85, 90% large advertisers, 10% small guys that basically did it. And then if you look at the corollary to that, the Yellow Pages business, which was kind of like the holy grail of all the small businesses that you could get.
It's the opposite.
Yeah, it was basically the opposite, 10, 15%. Large advertisers, but the real heart of the business and the money was from all these small guys.
Exactly.
So tell everyone today where the money is and where this is in terms of the shift.
Sure. So right now we are right around that stage you mentioned, early on in search and other things where it's national. Now over time we believe that's going to be kind of democratized in lots of ways, just like search was online. One example of that is Google's enhanced campaigns, which they launched a couple weeks ago, essentially kind of federates your mobile advertising search spend across desktop, mobile, and tablet. So they're kind of pushing things in that direction because adoption is a little bit slower than they want it to be in the SMB sector. But I really believe it's going to move down market and face that similar kind of transition.
So I'm glad you brought up enhanced campaigns, because that was actually my second question. So I've been hearing,
I knew it would be.
I've been hearing from people that are in the reseller channel that they believe that because of the Google change, that geo and mobile CPCs are going to rise in the next 24 months by at least 30%.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I agree with that for two different reasons. One,
I said it, so it has to be right.
Well, one, I mean, these ad rates are basically demand-driven. We're talking about bid marketplaces, so they're demand-driven. The more advertisers in there basically are going to drive up prices. But also, one of the challenges right now overall across the board in mobile is that those ad rates remain depressed when you compare with desktop CPCs, for example. One of the kind of secret reasons why Google did this was basically, with these federated campaigns, it defers to the desktop CPC because you're basically having one campaign, so all of the CPCs are the same across the board. They will benefit from that because they'll get higher average CPC because it defers to that higher desktop average. So by default, their announcement is going to make that happen. But I think also you're going to see some natural marketplace forces that push it up via bid pressure, more advertisers involved, et cetera.
So the one follow-up question, and then we'll go to Rick. So I have heard and seen data myself. It's not enough to say definitively, But it's pretty close that it looks like as you get closer to as the consumer gets closer to actually the middle of the search radius, therefore closer to the business,
yes,
that CPCs and return on investment and ROI, all those things actually start to go up. So it looks like when someone's closer, you should have better ad performance, therefore you will pay better.
Absolutely. So I mean,
what do you say about that?
It starts with the usage, and yes, we are seeing from usage data that CTRs are higher, not just the CTR, but more importantly, what we call secondary actions. So calls being made. Showing up at the store, so you'll know that by if someone generated directions. So these things are happening on the user end. It is, to your point, actually increasing advertiser demand and thus these demand-driven ad rates because certain types of businesses want the phone to ring, service-based businesses, retail and restaurants, they want people showing up. So I think that the activity itself is basically making user actions that advertisers want to see.
So real quick, before we go to Rick, you just did a big paper on this.
You're up to like 5 questions.
A big foundation paper. I have the thing, though, so I can do whatever I want. So big foundation paper. Give everyone just a quick on what the paper's about and why they should care.
Sure. So there's
why
a lot
should they spend their day?
Yep. A lot of excitement out there about mobile ad targeting, location targeting, but also a lot of hype and a lot of kind of, I guess, misguided optimism and opinions about where that's going. So we took a very data-centric approach in looking at, really what are the mobile ad rates, the performance deltas you can expect when you start to do X, Y, and Z. What's the line of thinking where a lot of companies are moving into mobile? A lot of them are bringing their desktop habits with them. We have case studies of where people are going wrong. So basically it's a view of what's working, what's not working. Here are the examples, here's the data, and you'll become smarter for it by, I think, just spending a little time reading it.
Guaranteed to increase your IQ points if you read this paper.
Yep, guaranteed.